Welcome back, everybody. It is December 1st of 2023, and this is episode 60 of What Is On My Desk. So here we are back for another one of those monthly updates on what's going on over on the model desk. I've been sick. I'm still fighting this head cold that's been bothering me for most of the month of November. So I got progress on kits, not quite as usual, not as much as I'd like. I'd love to get these things done in a heartbeat, but there is some progress going on. Minor progress, but progress nonetheless. So we'll swing over here in a second and take a look at that. And then I also have a few new products I purchased, actually from Hurricane over in England. Great site, just the shipping tends to hurt getting it shipped all the way from England, but their prices are really, really good for those who are over in England or on the Europe side, or even in North America and you're looking for a very specific item. Take a look at Hurricane. Their prices are good, shipping kind of hurts, but for some products, there's just no other way of getting them. So I picked up a little, my dad wanted some decals, which I'll bring up in this video too. And while I ordered those, I picked up a couple of items for myself. So we'll take a look at those 2-3 items that I got. Nothing spectacular. Take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at the progress on the kits. So on that note, let's jump right into this. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. And just before we do jump in, I'm not doing this on every video, but I will add them to this one. So I'd like to thank everybody out there who is watching this video. The subscriber numbers are up higher than I ever imagined they would. And the watch hours are going great. So again, thank you everybody. And if you do enjoy what you're watching here and you haven't yet, down below, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Every little bit helps me out and gets this channel out to more people and allows me to grow and expand as I can. It's gonna be, I got some grand plans for this channel in the long term, but it all involves just having the support to be able to do what I like to do. So on that note, let's get going. We'll take a look at these new products. Okay, before we jump into the progress on the 4 kits, which I said there has been some progress, we'll take a look at the new products I got. Now I'm gonna backstory. My dad wanted a set of decals for a 1/72nd scale P24, a very specific set of decals, and I looked around online, and I'm just gonna clean my desk quickly. So I looked around online, and really the only place I could find that they were for sale that I considered a reputable site was from Hurricane, which I mentioned in the intro. So I bought those decals for him, and while I was there, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna fill up, make the shipping cost worth it. So I browsed around their site and I found a couple of little items that I needed, so I picked those up as well. So I'll start off with the decals that my dad wanted, and they're from DK Decals, which I've never heard of before. Based off the website, it's Czech Republic, it says it on there. Made in the Czech Republic, and very, very good decals. I'm very tempted to kind of take a look and see what else they have for offer, specifically if they have anything in 1/48 scale, because they seem like, apologies for that, I will mute my phone. They seem like a really, really good company, and you can see here they mention where they their dealers. They got Red Roo models in Australia, Hurricane, what is that, Aviation Megastore, that's in Belgium, I believe. Kits World, and then the other one is yeah, those are the only ones that I recognize. OWL models. So anyways, they are a very interesting looking company, and I want to do some research and see what else they offer. But this specifically is the B-24 Liberator in Royal Air Force and Commonwealth service, and it includes 9 camouflage schemes, and you can see all 9 schemes here on the back. There's sort of an all Polish unit with the olive drab over gray with the European marking. You've got a coastal command in the European marking, and then you've got another coastal command European marking. You've got kind of a night bomber version in European markings, and then there is 5 from Southeast Asia. A night bomber with the Southeast Asian markings, a coastal command, another green over gray bomber, and then another looks like 2 coastal commands based off of the excuse me, based off of the color schemes. Although that one might be all silver, so it might be a full bomber. It's hard to say. But anyway, so lots of options on here. I think the one my dad specifically wanted was this one here with the X and the Southeast Asia markings. I believe, although he might be, no, yeah, it's doing that one because he's got the gun nose. So he's doing this version right here. So he wanted the decals, and they're not bad. They were 10 pounds or 13 pounds. 13 pounds, so like 20 bucks Canadian. So the cost is really, really worth it. The big issue was just getting the decals delivered to my house, which, like I said, costs quite a bit of money with the shipping from Europe. Although that being said, do I still have it, or did I get rid of it? I think I threw out the shipping document. It wasn't that much. I think it worked out to about $50 Canadian for everything I ordered, which is really, really decent. So anyways, on the back as well, it gives you color callouts. In Humbrol and Agama. I've never heard of that company before, but at least you could do your conversions to figure out what paint schemes you actually need. And then in the back here, it explains the different schemes. So there was it's interesting though, because I know one of them's Polish, but it doesn't mention any of them actually being a Polish aircraft, so I'm not entirely sure if these numbers line up. But yeah, okay, they do. So you can see again, the same order as I had on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So aircraft 1, the top one here is GR Mark 5, which is what GR. I guess it's a coastal command because it's not a bomber. Weird. Okay. A GR Mark 5 of 1586 SDF RAF. My guess is it's a conversion unit of some sort. I'd have to do some research on that unit if I really want to know. But anyways, that's that from 1944. Option 2 is a GR Mark 3 from 120 Squadron RAF in 1943. Option number 3 is a GR Mark 5, number 160 Squadron in India. And then number 4, which is the Coastal Command scheme, is a GR Mark 3 from number 160 Squadron in India. So these are actually from the same squadron in 1944. Option number 5 here, which I'm pretty sure is the one my dad wanted to do, was a B Mark 6 from number 159 Squadron in India in 1945. And then number 6 here, which is this night bomber version. And just for reference as well, this is a later version. I believe this is one of the later Ford-built ones that had the different lower nose style. And it's a B Mark 6 from 31 Squadron in the South African Air Force in Italy in 1945, which is interesting. Number 7, I believe this is all silver. I believe might be all white. It's hard to say. It doesn't look, no, I guess it's white. So it's an all white aircraft with an extra dark sea gray, just small band across the top. So it's definitely a Coastal Command. That's a GR Mark 6 from 160 Squadron, RAF India, 1944. So it's actually this one, and this one. 3, 4, and 7 are all from the same unit at different periods of time. Option 8 here, which is all done up in PRU blue, is a GR Mark 5 from number 354 Squadron in India in 1943. Not entirely sure why it's all in PRU blue. That'd be an interesting one to look up. And finally, number 9 here at the bottom is a GR Mark 5 from number 311 Czechoslovakia Squadron in RAF 1945. Again, it looks more of like a Coastal Command scheme on that one. So a lot of options on this sheet. As I said, all your color callouts are here. You've also over here in small, you've got your top view, so you can make sure that your camouflage is painted appropriately for the version you're doing. Lots of really cool options on this one. And then the decals themselves, I was very surprised when I opened it up, especially considering how relatively inexpensive these are. You get a lot of decals. You basically get enough to do every single scheme, which you don't see a lot of. Also of interest on some of these roundels, you can see how it's got the outer band, which I believe number 11 is the one that goes on this one. But you can see how it's got the 3 bands that match basically this perfectly. So you can see how they were just painted over the new color when they got in. The regular RAF roundels were over painted when they got into the Southeast Asia to hide the red, because a lot of ground gunners had a habit of shooting at red circles because the Japanese had the same, the Himaru, the red circle they used, the rising sun. So a lot of people, when they saw a red circle, they just fired their guns. So when a lot of RAF aircraft that would have a roundel like that ended up in Southeast Asia, they just painted over the red with a blue, and that's where you sort of see this. The dark blue is the same, and the inner red has just been painted in a baby blue color to just hide that red circle. But you get a lot of interesting options in terms of markings and color schemes and variations, and you can really kind of choose what you want to do. Lots of options, really, lots and lots of options. My dad's going to be happy as a pig in shit, because he's going to have all these extra decals left over after he does his B-24 that he can reuse on other aircraft. Printing quality looks okay. I don't know who printed them. They might be done in-house. There is some issues. There's a little bit of bleed on one of these roundels, and it looks, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, you get the right sheen. Excuse me. There's a little bit of it looks like the clear coat didn't quite go down completely equal, so there's some variation in the color. Hopefully once the decals get placed on the model with a bit of clear coat or the decal set, that will fade and hide, and everything will look constant. Even a bit of a flat coat or gloss coat should hide that. The nose art is beautiful. Lots of shading, variation in color, very accurate, very, very accurate. So it's very, very interesting set of decals. I'm just going to make sure I put all my... They're not... I don't normally keep the wax paper in between the decals. Personally, I've never had a problem with it, but these aren't my decals. So I am going to put everything back safely so I don't end up ruining someone else's property. So very interesting set of decals. Like I said, I got to do some more research into DK decals, see what else they have for offer, and see if there's anything that interests me, because it seems like they really do some good research, and they offer some really, really beautiful decal sheets. So I'll do some research on that. So like I said, while I was there, I just kind of poked around the website and saw what else could I add to this order to cut down on shipping. One thing I did notice is they did carry Black Dog resin, and Black Dog makes a bunch of aftermarket sets for Chinooks, and I have a Chinook kit in the stash that eventually I'll be doing up as a Canadian one. So I decided to see what they had, and unfortunately they didn't have a lot of stuff in stock. They had the only really thing they had was this kind of a drive shaft inspection tunnel down the top that was available. Again, it was like 10 pounds, so like $13, $14 Canadian. So I picked that up. Everything seems to be really, really nicely molded. It's got a huge pour stub on the bottom, which is going to be a bit of a pain to clean up. And I kind of have to see how it's all going to fit together. There's absolutely no instructions with this. It's just looking at the picture, so you can kind of get a feel for, you know, this is the front of the helicopter and this is the back of the helicopter. So this hinge line should be on the left side. So you got to make sure you place it in the right place. And then you got all the doors and all of the little brackets that hold the doors open. So you just kind of have to follow the instruction, this picture basically, and get it right. So, but I got to really look how this fits on the interior, because it's just a huge pour stub, and it's gonna be a bit of a mess to clean all that up. So I'll have to really play with it and see how it fits and everything like that. But that's, yeah, it looks really, really nice. So I'm very happy and excited to get that used. It's going to add a little bit of especially if you build it with the side door open, the back down, just that little bit of having like a excuse me, the inspection open on the top with a bit of detail. It's just gonna make the aircraft pop even that much more, make it a little, a little bit more realistic in the shape. I'd like to get some more stuff for it eventually if I can. I think they make a bit of an F model conversion, which I'd like to do mine as an F at some point, but anyways, really interesting add-on for that. That was just a throw-in because I saw it and it was relatively inexpensive. The real thing that I got for myself that I'm excited for is this from YAO Models. Never heard of them before. They're made in Poland. but it is an aftermarket 1/24th scale instrument panel for the Hurricane. And if you remember, in the last video I introduced, was the last video September or whatever? No, it would have been back in October, I guess. I introduced the 1/24 scale Hurricanes I got, and I'm building one up for a pilot of the Hurricane at Vintage Wings. And I still don't know exactly how I'm finishing that one in terms of build, whether it's going to be wheels up on a stand or wheels down on display. Yeah, so the instrument panel is always one, especially if you're going to have the cockpit open, is one of the things that draws the eye. And this is just a beautiful instrument panel. I have never, you just watched, I've opened this for the first time now. I've seen it through the bag, but this is the first time I'm actually getting down into it. It's a pre-printed photo etch, similar to what like Edward does, but it is amazing. I'm going to zoom you in here so you can take a look at just how unbelievable this is. I'll flip that over. I mean, that is spectacular. So there's a few other pieces in here. There's the blind flying panel piece that goes on top. I don't want to ruin these things. So you can see there's this piece here that, make sure I get this right. I think it goes this way. Oh. But yeah, so you can see there's that center blind flying panel that adds on, give it a bit of depth. And then, this is actually the instructions. There's a few other little things I need to do. I don't know what that piece is. And I don't understand what a lot of what they're asking me to do here. Oh, it's a pack of smokes. It's a pack of Lucky Strike cigarettes. You can like throw down on the seat or something. That's amazing. But yeah, see, so it says X and Y, and I don't really know the difference because X is saying to use these little 0.4 millimeter diameter plastic discs. And it looks like they want me to, I really don't know. Am I supposed to be making switches or something? Or, yeah, it looks like they want me to fill in these little switches with a little bit of plastic rod, 0.5 millimeter thick plastic rod, and actually insert all the little switches and handles and stuff that need to come out of the model, out of the instrument panel. And then, I don't know what that is. Y? I don't understand what they want me to do with Y. 1.5 mil and 1.2 mil width. I don't know. I really don't know. But anyways, I'll play around with this a little bit, and then you use a small plastic disc and you build the compass. But I might use the cut part and just glue that on top of the kit part. We'll see. But it's just, I mean, it is spectacular. I don't know what else to say. That instrument panel is unbelievable. But I just realized I stayed zoomed in for all of that. So if you look at the instructions, it's showing you here this little rod with an X, and then I don't know what this is at all. I don't understand that. I think it's supposed to be like a switch, but it's so small. But yeah, a little 0.4 mil rod, and then it points to all of these little spaces that are X's. If you look at the instrument panel itself, there's these little holes. So I think you're supposed to cut little switches and make the little switches and paint them. So I'll probably end up looking at doing that. But it's just, for 10 pounds, you know, $15, like that is just unbelievably detailed. And I'm, it'll just make that cockpit pop, especially if I build it with the cockpit open, you know, weather it all or slightly weather it, because it's going to be more of a showbird. But yeah, so anyways, that's for the that's for that. So that covers pretty much everything that I purchased. It was just a small little thing. Like I said, I didn't go too crazy with it. I just wanted to fill the cart. But yeah, so that wraps up what I bought. So let's hop over and take a look at the progress of the kits. I've filmed this bit here, about a week or so before the end of the month. So I really don't know what progress I'll have done by the time I get to the end of the month when I film that portion. But as of right now, I'm pretty happy with where things are. So we'll take a look at that in a couple of days and you'll see it in a couple of seconds. So let's take a look at the model progress. So here we are back at the desk, taking a look at the current status of the models. And as usual, there's progress. So let's take a quick look at where everything stands, starting with the F82E, then the G, then the Mosquito, then the Lincoln. So starting with the E model, it looks very much like the G model. It has been assembled, puttied, the wing center section is together. I've started with the canopies. This is actually farther along than the G model now, and that's basically because this one will be the easier of the two. Landing gear is up on a stand and it's painted silver, whereas the G is going to have a lot of extra details added, so it's starting to get to the point where it's going to need a bit more extra work. So the canopies are glued on. I've noticed they do need quite a bit of work. There's some pretty significant steps on the side of the canopies. The left one fits better than the right one. If you hold them this way, you'll see the left one fits on better than the right one. There's a lot less steps on this as there is in this one, so it's going to take quite a bit of sanding to kind of blend all that together. Luckily, I should be able to get in there with the sander and kind of get in and sand everything and blend it and get it all cleaned up. This one, again, not so much. And then I can clean it all up with probably some white glue and maybe even a little bit of Mr. Surfacer. We'll see as I get there what I need to do to get at that point. I said landing gear doors are in. I'm very happy with that. Coat of primer will really show me kind of where the weak points are in the sanding. But it's getting pretty close to the point where I will be priming this. Working on the canopies, I got to put the once I get these front pieces blended in, I'll get the main canopies glued on, get all of them blended in, and then I'll hit it with a coat of primer, and then I can start to see where the weaknesses are. And that's going to tell me where the weaknesses are on the G as well, and I can move on from there. The one thing I do want to point out, I want to zoom in here a little bit so you can see it, are the masking. The canopy has been masked. You'll see there on the forward windscreen, if it would focus, there we go. Forward windscreen is masked, as is the main canopy. I still have to do the main center part with some Tamiya tape. But most importantly, these masks are self-made masks. Where did I put that? Here we go. I used some Tamiya tape and I traced out the canopy shapes, laid the tape over the canopy, went through and drew around the outside edge, scanned this into Photoshop, converted that into a line drawing, imported that into my Cricut, and for the first time ever, I cut my own vinyl masks. This is a double set. Let's see if I can find an angle so you can probably make out the cuts in there. So this is the double set for the G model, and I have the other set. This is the other side for this, the other canopy for the E model. So it's all pre-cut. I might have misshapen the side windows on the forward canopy. I'm not going to worry too much about it. There's enough kind of inaccuracies with this kit that having this line at the top slightly off isn't going to be a deal breaker in my mind, but it gives me a lot of options moving forward in terms of making my own masks for kits and saving that money from having to order Tamiya ones. Being able to make custom markings and all that kind of stuff. It gives me a lot of options to do stuff that I haven't had in the past, having my own vinyl cutter, and it's really huge that I have that. Might turn into the ability to do stuff on demand for customers out there. I haven't gone that far yet, but I mean, if you're out there right now and you're seeing this and you would like some custom masking, let me know. I'm more than happy to experiment and see what I can come up with. But yeah, so that's where we stand with this. Yeah, not much else to say. It's pretty much, like I said, almost ready for primer. I haven't put the intake portions, but I want to wait until I get some more sanding done and whatnot. So moving to the G, you get a good look at the two of them side by side. At this point, they look exactly the same, other than this one having that 3D decal cockpit installed. And the gear being down on this one versus up on this one. Otherwise, they are at pretty much exactly the same state. This one also has vacuum form canopies, which I have also started to cut out. You can see they fit on there quite nicely, as this one is going to have the canopy open. I went with vacuum form canopies in order to have a little bit less, you can see how thick the canopies are on this one versus the thinness you get of a vacuum form canopy makes it look just a little bit more realistic. I do have to worry about, I don't even know where they are now. Oh, they're over there. I painted them. The inserts. These are the inserts that go inside the canopy. It's a little harder to fit to the vacuum form. On the plastic, they just drop into place, and I can glue them in with a little bit of white glue or regular liquid glue. Versus on this one, it is going to take, and I think I have. No, I don't have the canopy glue. Anyways, white glue or regular liquid glue is fine. This one, because there's so much play in it, it takes a little bit of effort to get them to fit in there. There's no real lip to hold the plastic piece, so that's going to take a little bit of effort just to get that piece mounted properly and glued and straight. But then you can see how the canopy will fit something like that, versus on this one where it'll be mounted closed, something like that. So again, a little bit of a difference between the two, but that'll make it look interesting. Some visual interest when it's sitting on the shelf. So everything is getting very, very close to being ready for primer. So like I said, once I get this one all masked off and sanded and blended and the canopies are installed, then I'll focus on this one and get this one masked, get the vacuum form canopies installed, find a way to mask, whether I'm going to install the canopy with a bit of blue tack or white glue and then paint. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I have to figure that out. Or versus just masking this off and whatnot. And the same with this, I got to mask all these off, probably use some sponges for that. But we're getting to the point where we're going to be close to paint, or at least primer. And then once I'm happy with these cores, then I will focus on getting the outer wings installed as well. I've been working on the radar pod for the center of this. It really is showing its issues as a 3D print. The quality of this was really low. So it's going to take a little bit more effort. I've primed it and I've sanded it. I've primed it and I've sanded it. I might put a thin coat of putty on it. Just kind of coat the whole thing in a bit of putty and sand it to try to hide the worst of it. But when that's all installed, it's going to look pretty good. But again, it's got a lot of artifacts on the surface. So I might just have to, I might need to putty it just to skim everything, hide the worst of it, sand that out, and hopefully it'll look thin, rescribe it and everything when I'm done. So still working on that, but luckily that's probably a lot later down the process. I might have to assemble this with the gear down and then glue this on so that I'm not handling this with this thing sticking out where it's easy to snap it off, that I can rest it on its gear. Don't quite know yet. I haven't gotten that far, but yeah. So coming along on both of those F82s. It's slow, it's steady, but I'm getting there. Looking at the Mosquito, let me get you a little out here so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Apologies if I cut out anything I was just talking about there. But so the Mosquito, it doesn't look much different probably from what you saw in the last month's update, other than the fact that I'm covered in putty. The wings are glued on. That's probably the main step that I've taken on this. I've gotten some of this glued in, some sanding done. I got to go through. I was going to do some extra work on this, and then I realized I had to glue the wings on. And I'm getting very close to this being ready for primer, and I needed a lot more work on the other ones to get to the same point. So this kind of has been sitting while I've been focusing on the other stuff. But the wings are glued on. They're drying nicely. And then I'm going to go through with the Mr. Surfacer, and I got to go around the bomb doors. I got to go around this sort of gun area and then all of the wing root joints. I'm going to go through all of that with a bit of Mr. Surfacer, clean all of that up, and then I'm probably, well, I shouldn't say that, I got to get the nacelles glued on, and then it will be ready for a quick hit of primer. And once I'm happy with the setup of that after a coat of primer, with the nacelles and everything on, then I can go through and start doing things like the horizontal stabilizers and some of the little tiny fiddly bits, and then this will be ready for paint. So again, this is probably going to be the quicker of the kits in order to build, because it's a Tamiya, it's a shake and bake kit. It doesn't take much to get it where I need it to be. So I'm kind of focusing on all the other stuff and getting them to a high level of readiness, and then I can move on. Moving on to the Lincoln. I have done a lot of prep work on the fuselage. You'll see there's been a lot of sanding and kind of blocking it out and getting the shape right. and I'm very happy with the shape right now. I've cleaned up all of the little bits of putty that I had. Basically, this is ready for primer. I'm just going to say it. This, as it sits, I would be comfortable hitting it with a coat of primer right now. It's still in 2 halves. It's just taped together right now. But that gives me these. Then once I hit it with primer, then I can worry about little tiny imperfections. But it's basically ready for a primer. That's where I wanted to get this, and that's where it's at. So this has been sitting. I have done very little on this fuselage since I finished the sanding, and I have been doing a lot of focusing on the wings. There's still some areas, like right here, I can feel a lip that's got to be sanded down, but I've also still got to work with this seam. So there's a lot of work in here still, so I'm not terribly worried if there's some imperfections that need to be worked out. But that, basically, like I said, has been sitting. I'm not working on the fuselage as much. I have been working on the wings. And with the wings, I have all of the cowling pieces glued in. Just not so much the engine cowlings, but the nacelles have all been glued in. There's still quite a bit of work to go. So the inner nacelle, I have the plastic glued in. There's some significant gaps on some areas. I'm going to use Mr. Surfacer to fill a lot of those. I've done a little bit of sanding to blend the resin and the plastic sides in place. This needs a bit of putty as well. Again, there's going to be some Mr. Surfacer required in some of these areas. I've blended here. There's been a lot of super glue and baking soda going into this to lock all this down, harden it up, make sure it doesn't move. Same with this. This has all been glued in. The inside seam has had a little bit of super glue and baking soda to make sure it seals. The rest has all been glued in with super glue. And then I have across here a bunch of super glue and baking soda, as well as this seam back here, because they're the easiest ones to sand. But it's kind of locking down both ends with regular super glue along the sides, and then this interior seam has all the strengthening in it. So once I sand all that down, that should be locked in nice and tight, and then I can worry about cleaning up these inside seams here with Mr. Surfacer, and this seam will be cleaned up with putty, just like this seam back here will be cleaned up with putty, and across the top here, I will use the Tamiya putty to hide any of the seams. Once that is prepped, I'm gonna mask off these wheel wells, and I'm gonna prime this as is. I know it's not perfect, but I'm gonna prime, basically I know the fuselage is ready. I've been working on getting these wings up to a point when I can hit them with a first coat of primer, and that's gonna show me where I need to focus my efforts. The top should be good. I think the bottoms need a bit of extra work, and then depending on how it works out in here with the nacelles, and then I'm gonna worry about cleaning up a lot of these sanding marks, taking out the last of the panel lines, and then hitting it all. I still got some, I shouldn't say that, I got the flaps have to be extended and the ailerons need to be rescribed. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I can't do too much until I have a coat of primer, because I need to make sure this aileron is all smooth, this wingtip seam is all smooth, everything is there, and then I can start, you know, masking and rescribing some of these lines in here. And I got to figure out what I'm doing in here, especially on the top as well. I'll have to kind of make up some interest in here to keep it looking a little busy. So I'm not quite sure yet what I'm doing with that, but it's getting there. And it is huge when you link these together the way it normally would be. This is not a small kit, and you can see the fuselage is huge. So it's gonna be a huge kit when it's all done. I don't actually have shelf space for this right now, but yeah, so that's the status of the kits. I've just been plugging along here and there when I have the time. I haven't really had much time to just sit and work. It's been sporadic in and around as I've had some free time, but I'm definitely getting a lot closer. Like I said, little things, moving closer. You kind of do a lot of little things and you'll sit down and realize how much you actually got done. But it's just been a whole lot of little things, little tiny bites out of all the little things that need to get done. And a lot of stuff that I've been putting off, like masking the canopies, dealing with the vacuum form, dealing with the radar pod, dealing with the nacelles on the wings. That's all stuff I've been putting off because I haven't been looking forward to it. And it's been like, yeah, there's something else I want to do, but now I'm at a point where I have to do it. So I'm kind of focusing on that while still nibbling away at some other small things. So I'm slowly getting there. But yeah, that's kit progress. So we're pretty much at the end. There's my monthly news update should be coming out soon, and there has been some significant stuff happening in the aviation world. I'll be talking about some of that, some updates with the some procurement updates in the military, and as well as some air show updates coming up. So that should be out in the next couple of days. I'm going to have my usual RCAF squadron video coming out later this month, as well as I got a bit of a surprise video coming out later this month as well, something I really wasn't planning on, but went down the rabbit hole. So that's going to be exciting. I think a lot of people will be interested in that when it comes out. And then, yeah, we're talking about Christmas and New Year. So time is just flying by. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. Stay tuned for that monthly news. Stay tuned for that RCAF video. And like I said, you've got the surprise video coming out soon with some aviation history content. And yeah, so again, thank you for everybody watching. We'll see you all next time.